Hello everyone, welcome to the Ichimoku.co daily stock market review for the trading day ending Thursday, November 19th. Firstly to the S&P 500, and here we see the trend continuing to the upside today. This current candle has formed a higher high and a higher low, but a lot of indecision has entered the market. The formation of a very small-bodied spinning top type candle suggests that the buyers have lost the strength that they found for the previous day's trading, and that neither the buyers nor the sellers are terribly strong. And the story here is that at the end of a very significant uptrend, the buyers have lost commitment, they've lost net momentum, and they've lost control. And that suggests that there is a very real possibility of a change of trend. Now, remembering, however, that this is an indecisive candle, so we saw price rejection from above the highs of yesterday's candle, but also price rejection to the upside from the top of this highlighted zone. So we could see support come in here if the market tested within this zone, and see the buyers bounce the market up to test to about the 2093 previous level of resistance. So even though we have introduction of indecision in the market, there still is a possibility that the trend could continue. Now, having said that, however, we have to look at it this way, that with the buyers losing commitment and the great loss of momentum that they've suffered, the probability of a change of trend is greater than the probability of the trend continuing to the upside. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to monitor the low of the current candle for a potential lower high and lower low to confirm the downtrend, or the high to monitor for a potential higher high and higher low. Now, if we do see the trend change, there is potential for very strong support to come in around the Tenkan-sen and Kijun-sen, which are roughly about this 2058, 2057 region. And we could see very solid support coming in there if the market does trade all the way down to there, if the trend does change. Also, if we extend down through there over the next couple of days, looking to very strong support at the previous support and resistance area at 2040, which also coincides with the bottom of that highlighted zone of previous support and resistance. In terms of Ichimoku, we still have a bullish market in all three timeframes, trading above the cloud, the Kijun-sen and the Tenkan-sen, and that is still supported by the Chikou span. So the suggestion here is that if the market does come off, we're likely to find support and a very good possibility of the buyers coming back into the market. Now, just using the Fibonacci retracement tool, and we're examining the relationship of the current first time frame uptrend to the immediate previous first time frame uptrend, and here we see the market testing exactly to the 100% level, and with the introduction of indecision in here, it does suggest a very real possibility of a change of trend to the downside. But as always, we want confirmation, so that would be a candle with a lower high and a lower low. Next to the Dow 30, and an even more decisive candle here. This is a doji candle, and that's where the market has opened and closed pretty much in the same place, and it suggests that between the open and the close there's been very little movement in the market between the open and the close, so the net movement is virtually non-existent, and that suggests that there's been very little momentum in terms of buying or selling, and that's why there's indecision. We also have the shadow on the top and the shadow on the bottom, and that represents downside price rejection, so the buyers losing commitment, and in this case above the 17735 level, but the sellers losing commitment down at the bottom of this highlighted zone. So that's also another reason why this is a very indecisive candle. Now, this type of candle at the end of a significant uptrend suggests a very real possibility of a change of trend. With the strong support down below, there is some doubt about whether the sellers will be strong enough to breach down through the bottom of this highlighted zone, about this 17687 area. But if they do, and there is in fact a change of trend, then we'll be looking to strong support to come in about the 17603 region, and down at 17536 we have the Tenkan-sen trading around there, so very, very solid support around there. Just like with the S&P, we have a bullish market in all three timeframes and supported by the Chikou span, so the opportunity is here for the buyers, but it may be a bit tougher for the buyers in the Dow. We do have this highlighted zone overhead, and it extends up to the previous swing high at about 17967. Next to the Nasdaq 100, and formation of a doji candle here suggests that the momentum to the upside is non-existent, and it does suggest by itself that there is potential for a change of trend, but with the shadow on the top being much larger and the market closing down towards the low, it suggests that the buyers have lost commitment in a more dramatic way than we saw with the other two indices. They've been much weaker, and the price rejection from higher levels from above 4659 resistance has been stronger, and also closing down close to the low suggests that the sellers have actually taken control away from the buyers, and that suggests that there is a very real possibility of a change of trend to the downside here. As with the other indices, we do have a bullish market in all three timeframes, trading above the cloud, above the Kijun-sen and the Tenkan-sen, and supported by the Chikou span. So it suggests that we could see the buyers come back into the market, or if the greater likelihood is that we will potentially have a change of trend, the market may find support around one of these important levels, and then the buyers can return back to the market. Next to the Russell 2000, and following the bullish breakout above the Ichimoku cloud for the previous day, we haven't seen the follow through that we'd like to see to confirm the strong bull market in the longer term time frame. Importantly, the market also broke out above the Kijun-sen and the Tenkan-sen, and the lack of follow through suggests that the buyers just aren't quite there, but there is still a possibility that they could return to this market. We have had a change of colour in the candle from white to black, and that suggests that the sellers have found some downside momentum, and suggesting that the buyers are not as strong as they were previously, and that the sellers are attempting to find the momentum to change the trend to the downside. We've also seen the sellers take control. It is weak control with close between the midpoint level and the low. But importantly, the sellers have been able to close down through the 1167, 1168 level of previous support, and also close just below the Kijun-sen indicator. This suggests that we could see the market change trend, but if we do, we're likely to find some strong support coming in at the top of the Ichimoku cloud, about the 1160, 1161 region. In terms of candlesticks, this is also a potential bearish Tweezer's top pattern, and here always we need a prior trend and the price action trending up from this 1147 level. The two highs of these candles roughly about the same area, and as always we require confirmation, with the confirmation being a lower high and a lower low in the next candle. Moving to our asset class ETFs, and firstly to TLT, the Barclays 20 plus year Treasury Bond Fund, and here we see the market gapping up. Formation of a very small body candle suggests that we could see a retracement. The large gap here suggests that there's been a great rush of enthusiasm from the buyers here, so we may be seeing a flow of capital away from equities into the bonds. This is a very short-term basis, by the way. This is on the daily charts. Looking to the relative strength comparative, we are below the 100% level, but we are seeing the relative strength comparative move quite strongly back towards the 100% level. So an improving quadrant here, with the momentum of relative strength up above the 100%, and suggesting that we have an improvement here in the terms of relative strength. To gold also, and here we see some buying, the market closing above the Tenkan-sen, first occasion for quite some time, and suggesting we could see higher levels, but we're still down below 100% on the relative strength comparative and its momentum, and suggesting that we are still in the lagging quadrant here, and we'd need to see a greater improvement to suggest that we should be allocating to gold as an asset class away from equities on a short-term basis. Next to the REITs, the REITs, the real estate asset class, and also a change of trend to the upside, trading above the Tenkan-sen indicator and the cloud. So a bullish market in the longer term time frame. Introduction of indecision here suggests that there is a possibility of the market trading off. That's because of the spinning top type candle. In terms of the bands, now we're trading back within the band. So whereas we had a very strong negative tone to the medium term downtrend that the market had been in over the past couple of weeks, we now have a change here, and we're retracing back towards the middle of the bands, mean reverting. In terms of relative strength, still in the lagging quadrant. Relative strength is below 100%, as is its momentum, but momentum of relative strength has been moving back towards the 100% level quite strongly, and suggesting we could end up, if we do see some strong follow through to the upside, end up in the improving quadrant. Just looking at volatility, this top chart here on a very short-term basis, and it suggests that we are at something of a cyclical low in volatility, and we could see that tick up, and suggesting that this trend could continue to the upside. Next, moving to some stocks, and VeriSign is one that we've been following very closely and continues to perform very, very strongly, one of the best performers in the markets overall. Well up above each of the Ichimoku indicators, just looking a little overextended in the depth away from the Ichimoku cloud, so does cause some concern and suggests that we could see a pullback. If we do see that pullback, looking to the Tenkan-sen on the Ichimoku charts at 83.60 to hold a support, and if that's breached, looking to the Kijun-sen at $80.36. In terms of the band chart, well up above the upper band, highlighting very strong tone to the trend in the medium-term time frame, and if there is any pullback, looking to the upper band at 83.78 to hold as support. In terms of relative strength comparative, on the left hand side, performing very strongly above 100%, as is momentum, and the tone of the trends there are very strong to the upside, and suggesting that this is a very, very strong outperformer. One cause for concern is the reduction in the size of the white body, even though the buyers have continued with control. But on a relative strength basis, considering that we had indecision entering the overall market, this is quite a good performance. But that doesn't mean that we may not get a pullback, but certainly there's no sign of any pullback here at the moment, with the buyers still strongly in control. The only worrying factor, as I've mentioned, is the lessening of momentum in net terms between the open and the close as compared to the previous day's trading, but still not a great concern. Looking next to Disney, DIS is the code, and Disney has been a solid performer in the recent past. The Ichimoku chart looks very healthy, as does the band chart. Very strong tone to this uptrend. Formation of an indecisive spinning top type candle does suggest potential for a change of trend. Looking to the Tenkan-sen 116.25 to hold a support, or the upper band 116.94. Relative strength comparative is above 100%, as is the momentum, but the momentum is just coming off a tad, and it's starting to accelerate a little to the downside, the momentum, so suggesting that the strong outperformance that we've seen in the stock may not continue. But at the moment there is still no strong sign of that happening. The momentum is still above the 100% level. We are still in the leading quadrant with Disney. Looking to Raytheon, RTN is the code, and here we see this stock gapping up today, and the buyers very strongly in control here. Some small loss of commitment is evidenced by the small shadow, but still closing well up above the midpoint level. Trading up above each of the Ichimoku indicators. The weekly chart looks very strong in terms of the band chart, and in terms of the of Ichimoku, well up above each of the indicators. On the daily band chart, we are well up above that upper band, and if we do see a retracement on the Ichimoku chart, 121.69 is where the Tenkan-sen trades. Should be a strong area of support, and the upper band 121.69 as well, so very solid support potentially to come in around that area if we do see this stock come off. In terms of relative strength, both relative strength and its momentum are above 100%. The tone of the trend there is very strong, suggesting very strong outperformance by Raytheon. Costco has been a very solid performer as well, in terms of Ichimoku strong, up above the upper band, and that followed a test down below the lower band, but a lack of follow through saw the buyers return into the market. Buyers strongly in control. Relative strength comparative is very, very strong. Any pullback will be looking to the Tenkan-sen 158.22 and the upper band 159.53 to hold as support. Another solid performer over recent days has been Dow Chemical Co. DOW is the code, and in terms of Ichimoku, very strong, and in terms of the bands as well, the bands had squeezed together, and the bullish breakout now has seen the market continue to trade up above the upper band. Relative strength in both the comparative and its momentum above 100%, and we have seen the momentum of relative strength move higher quite strongly and back up above 100%, suggesting that we are rotating from the weakening quadrant back into the leading quadrant